Yes, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We're just waiting for the platform to warm back up again. Let's get you guys back joining us for part two. Aziza Kibibi, amazing, amazing woman. Amazing, amazing woman. Looking forward to you rejoining. Hi, Sapphire. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being there for part one. Part two. Woo! I'm hot. I don't even know where my fan is. Oh, where is my fan? I have to get my fan. Hey, Chris. Woo! Hey, Sunita. Hi, guys. Keep coming. Aziza, down at the bottom for me, please. Or I'll try and find them as we go along. There's questions. Hello, beautiful. Welcome back.
All right.
Thank you for coming back. I need a fan. I don't know. My menopause is kicking in over here. Woo! Honestly. Welcome back to the platform, everybody. Part two. We're going to get some questions going on this side of the interview. The wonderful, beautiful, phenomenal Aziza Kibibi. She is the founder of Pretty Little Ladies.
Precious little ladies, yes.
Yes. Do you want to talk about that while we're waiting for the platform to warm up, my love?
Sure. So Precious Little Ladies is my nonprofit organization, and it was inspired. I started it specifically the story that I shared with you about one of the times I tried to convince my mother to leave my father, for us all to leave. And when she told me that she did not have any money or any resources and she couldn't take all of these kids, that honestly inspired me to start the organization. A mixture between those moments from my past to even when I escaped my father, and I am now this young woman with 4 children who I have to raise on my own. They don't have birth certificates. They don't have social security cards. And now I have to reestablish myself in society and get to know society. I did not know how to find resources. And it was literally like I had to beat the ground, figure it out. I even helped Vital Statistics, New Jersey Vital Statistics here, develop the process on how to get a delayed birth report for a child born at home. So using all of those, using my experience, I created Precious Little Ladies. Our mission is to strengthen the bond between mothers and daughters, to combat child molestation, domestic violence, incestuous abuse, and sexual assault. And we do that through helping the communities, helping mothers, helping families access resources, really help to raise awareness on the issues, and indirectly put enough information out there. Well, I'm going to say directly put enough information out there through media and social media so that women who may be in an abusive situation can see that they are not alone. And we help to really encourage children to say that, tell them it's okay to tell, because that's one thing I was told, that no, it's not okay to tell. And a lot of children who are being molested, and even if they do tell a family member, the idea of incest and incestuous abuse and child molestation, a lot of times it's brushed under the rug and children are taught to keep the secret. So so the organization, we really just encourage and teach people how to tell, who they can tell, and the resources that they can access to help in the recovery process, and also in prevention. So we have worked with, boards of education. I've worked with the city of East Orange, worked with the city of Newark, and even on a global scale, I mean, our information is like all over the world, and now we're looking to raise enough funds that we can expand into other countries.
That's awesome. And I wish you all the best with that quest, and I know that it will be recognized, because cases such as yours are becoming more common now, where people are getting found out. And I mean, here in England, well, it seems to be a lot happening in America. I mean, we have the cases here, but America just seems to be flagging up all the time with these hidden children, with, you know, the whole incestuous journey and so on and so forth. So
Right.
we here from London, we support your work and wish you the best on your endeavors, and we know that you will raise awareness on with where you are right now. You were born for this purpose, so
Mhm.
there, I'm not even going to wish you well, because I know it's a blessing anyway that you're still
Right.
here
Well,
doing what you're
thank
doing.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So no, thank you. My thank you. Your thank you ain't bigger than my thank you. All right, my dear. So let's crack on. So how are we getting on? Right. So let's not get lost amidst my pages. I wanted to go back to that time when you did have the authorities turn up, and the time when you fell, and you was questioning whether the person who had seen you really did see you, and they did turn up at your house,
Mhm.
and it was just you and your father there, and it was it two female officers,
No, one male and one female.
and the woman, you write that, let me find it, I've kind of lost track of my page.
Mhm.
All right, there was a time when someone had called the police to tend to your house, having been beaten by your father, in your words, blindsided with a jab to your forehead, followed by a hook under your chin, where the last hit made you trip and you landed on your stomach.
Mhm.
And hearing in the distance a man say, "Oh shit, did you see that?"
Mhm.
The fear of letting them in, you could see in your father's face and read his mind that he would make sure he took your children, as he knew all their foster care
Yes.
addresses.
Yes.
So, like the time he and his white girlfriend planned to kidnap your baby from the hospital dressed in doctor's coats, they
Mhm.
actually managed to get your baby, is it Kwanji,
Yes, that's my
before
sign. Yeah.
before dropping him.
Yes.
Tell me about that. The drop.
Okay. You started with one question and you ended up. Which question do you want me to answer?
Let's like with the okay. Let's look at the authorities. Knowing that fear, I want you to explain to me what fear is for you. Every
Mm.
encounter, fear. What is fear? What does that fear? Explain it in your description.
Um, Fear is it's for me. It's can be different experiences, but honestly, in situations like that, the inability to know what's going to happen next, wanting a certain outcome and just being unsure if the decision that I make will either give the outcome that I want or make things worse, because I had been living a life where it was one or the other. I did not I don't remember experiencing any kind of in between, any kind of making, a decision with anything pertaining to my father and things being neutral. It was either like, whew, I'm glad that worked, or it just was so much worse than I thought that it would be.
Mm.
So that, and I think that that is in my life, well, I can't even say in my life now, but definitely when I first escaped my father, that manifested in my life as a form of PTSD, because it was just, he was unpredictable. So
Mm.
at this point now, the police, I have the police on one side of the door and my father on the other side. I grew up with him threatening to kill me, to kill my mother, to kill my children. In my mind, my miscarriage was he killed my baby in my mind. So he's right here. there right here, my decision was, do I stay with the devil that I know and follow his instructions? Because I don't know if the police are going to respond fast enough before he did. I don't know what kind of weapons that he has or that he keeps with him. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I just don't know what he's going to do. At the time, there was a 125-gallon fish tank by the door. And plenty of times he has threatened to put somebody's head in it or push it on them. So all of these things are flashing in my head, and it's just, well, what decision do I make that would come out with what I felt was the safest result? And at the time, the safest result was to try to get the police to leave, and then I just tried some other route, you know, with my father. Because honestly, even him beating me in public, I wasn't prepared for that at that moment. So when I heard the man's voice, I didn't know that he would do something. It was the hood, you know. Not many people, most people in the hood, they keep, you know, they're like, I don't want no parts. So for then the police to show up at the door, it was somewhat of a surprise. And honestly, I didn't have a plan for it. I hope that answered your question. Fear?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? There's no right or wrong answer, because that's your truth. Yeah. That's your truth. That's what it meant and felt for you. And I'm just trying to, which I will never ever, but I just wanted you to give me like a taster of that fear, because reading it, fear rose up in me. Right? And the I just wanted, as I said, I just wanted to rescue you in those pages, honestly. Lord. Moving on. Yeah. I still don't get what made it so easy for your father to slip through the system. And you wrote that he had a magic powder that made everything turn out in his favor. That just really baffles me. Time and time again, everything you did, there was like a block to getting a resolution or a result, as you said. So this is the one that really does me. They all do, but this one I found like, wow. Can you tell us about the time when you left state for Florida in March 2001? But before that, let me just let the viewers know you was pregnant. You was at the hospital. You was hoping that you would deliver your baby, but you wasn't dilated. So they sent you home. And your father said that there was a meeting at the house with all the family. Yeah? Yes. Is that correct with that?
Yes.
And whatever thoughts were in your head, you say, what have you done? What could it be? And you thought that you was going to get another beating again. But this was to tell you that you're all leaving for the state of Florida. Now, for you were on these programs with the local authorities that were doing really well. You was getting close to getting your children back. Is that correct?
Well, no, actually, not yet. It took me 3 years to get my children back.
But the programs, you were in these programs, and you were supposed to have a program coming up that you were supposed to attend.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you're now being told that you have to go to Florida, and what felt like a stop off, so as you could stretch. So you're now driving in this car with all your family, the dogs, luggage, everybody, and poor you. How many months pregnant was you at that time? Well, you was due to give birth.
Yeah.
So you're squashed up in this journey, and I know that 95, in so much discomfort, where you stopped, you did a stop off, you got out to stretch, move around for a little bit, and then you was told to take the wheel. You're going to be driving.
You made me readjusted my seat, Diana, bringing back those memories.
Girl, I was so happy when you wrote, you know, you said your mother looked on at you and then your father even spoke to you in a way that made you feel his words were kind of like soothing. And then he says, take the wheel, you're driving. You're
Look,
driving,
I
heavily pregnant.
heavily pregnant. I remember my belly and the steering wheel, it rubbed against my belly the whole time. I was fighting labor pains because and this is the crazy thing about the hospital, they sent me home, but they knew I was in labor. I was in labor. I just wasn't in labor enough. So I'm fighting labor pains. I'm there with the steering wheel. And when I tell you the symbology of having my father, my abuser, sitting next to me with my entire family in the back, and I'm driving this long, extensive road to another state, it was like, I felt like he put me in position to contribute to my own abuse. He forced me to be a co-conspirator in the end, right? Because I'm doing the driving. This was something that was not supposed to be happening. And he put me at the steering wheel. So there was just that. At the same time, I mean, I love to drive, and I had just learned how to drive. That was the other thing. I had just learned how to drive. So literally going on this trip was a training for me because I'd just gotten my license. And the times when my family was asleep, it was moments for me to reflect. I'm sure anybody who's been on a road trip has had that experience. But for me in this situation, it was almost paradoxical at the fact that I was forced in this situation that I kind of had complete control over because I'm controlling the vehicle. And even, I don't know if did you get to the part over the 7 Mile Bridge?
When you had that abrupt stop?
It wasn't an abrupt stop. I considered taking the whole car into the ocean. And just kind of fighting that urge. And that's what it was. It was just like being in a position, I think a lot of women and a lot of people that are in abusive situations, it's this constant struggle on, well, how much are you contributing to your own oppression, right? And I think that moment for me, and even writing about that moment, it was like, you know, struggling with that idea of, I'm being abused, and since it's me that's being abused, how much am I contributing to this abuse? How much of it is my fault? And I mean, I want to say for anybody that has experienced anything like this, the things that I've experienced, no, it's not your fault. It isn't. No matter how much things can point to that, you know, you have to maintain the perspective that unless you're like into sadomasochism or something and you enjoy being being beaten, like you have a choice, and there's somebody else trying to impress their ideas on you in a forceful way, and in a painful way, in a hurtful way. So even if there are moments, I think that there are some abusers and some manipulators that try to get their victim involved to make it seem like that they are a willing participant. And I think that symbolically, my father saying, you take the wheel, you're driving, was very similar to that.
I would have said that there was a case of Stockholm syndrome there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, okay, so in and out. At that moment, because Stockholm syndrome, you know, the victim starts to sympathize for their victimizer, right? I didn't have sympathy for my father. No. I was not on his side. Did that ever happen in my life, in my experience with him? Yes, it did. Definitely in my younger days, between me wanting the abuse to stop and feeling like if I just behaved and did what he said, then he'd eventually not need to beat me, not need to rape me anymore. And then there was a time in my teenage years where I'm seeing this man, you know, win MTV Music Awards and have celebrities over the house on a regular basis and everybody loves him. Then it's like, well, maybe what he's doing isn't bad. You see what I'm saying? So then you
Yeah.
become the rooter for it. So I did have moments of that. And I have to say that I've witnessed my mom have moments of that as well. But as far as this time that we're talking about now, I was not in support of my father at all. I
No,
was not in
no.
support of any of his violence. Did I take on the feeling of, you know, deserving it? Yeah, of course, you know, during the time, because it's like, well, what did I do to deserve this treatment? Maybe I did do something because it's happening to me and I really don't know what it is. I just can't identify what it is.
Aziza, Jesus Christ, I don't know. I just don't know.
Diana,
Can
you're
I
about
just
to go into another hour on Instagram, aren't you? I saw you.
Oh my God, I'm like, any questions, please just pin them to this handle and we will get through. I promise you we will get through. I just want you to know, go and buy the book, Unashamed, A Tainted Life, Aziza Kibibi, Aziza Kibibi. Go and purchase this book. It is a must read. Aziza, back to you. Thank you. Thank you. Time and time again, you have shared with us a plethora of events that were witnessed in your mother's presence. Though whether she was there or not, she was fully aware of her daughter's brutality that was delivered by her husband, not a stranger, but your father. Was your mother always unaffected by what had been taking place when it came to all of you, or just you?
Was my mother, you mean emotionally? Was she emotionally unaffected? When you
Whichever
say,
way.
okay, I think she went through times. I can tell. And you know what? I might be a little biased in answering that question only because was she affected? Yes, she was affected. But during my adolescence, mommy's attitude towards me was that I was the competition. So she was affected in that way. She says to me, I can't compete with you. Essentially, and this is her as a woman who have completely conformed to the polygamous lifestyle. But even amidst all of the many women that she has had to share her husband with, she told me that with them, she can compete with them because they are grown women. She cannot compete with a child. And if my father wanted to have sex with me because I was a child, then that trumps everything because she's not a child and she could never be a child. It was extremely hurtful and painful for me. And that perspective showed in how she treated me on a day-to-day basis. You know, I got more negative attention from her. She would complain to my father when she felt that I was talking back or being sassy to her, which then would affect and increase his sexual punishment of me. I don't know if she knew that was happening. I did not have, at that point, I couldn't stand her. I couldn't stand my mother. I did not want to talk to her. I did not want to be around her. So I didn't even let her know, like, look, daddy is sodomizing me when you tell on me for certain things. So I don't know. So to say whether she had any reaction or response, yeah, she had different reactions and response. I saw her cry when she found out that my father had started molesting my sister. She cried about it. But as far as my perspective, did she react enough? No, I don't think she reacted enough. She definitely didn't react as much as I would have reacted. I probably would have killed somebody. But
Wow.
yeah.
Oh my God, Aziza. Someone has answered you are incredible. How did you get to the point where you are able to tell your story so eloquently without it bringing back raw memories and emotion? And that is from Elle Morgan. That's
Okay, Elle Morgan.
my son's partner there. Hi, Elle. Thank you for that
Okay.
question.
Thank you,
Yes.
Al. Oh wait, repeat the question again, Diane. I'm sorry. For some reason I started picturing Al
Okay.
Morgan. I started creating this whole face and body type and everything in my head. So I was distracted a little bit.
Okay. She says, you are incredible. How did you get to the point where you are able to tell your story so eloquently without it bringing back raw memories and emotions?
Okay. It brings back raw memories and emotions. I don't know if, maybe you all don't hear my voice cracking sometimes, but it does. It's not possible for me to share my story and it not bring back the memories and emotions, because I do relive it every time I share my story. It is somewhat of a sacrifice, but I am at peace with what happened to me. I understand that it was causative in who I am today. It has contributed. And more importantly, the choices that I made pertaining to my situation and how I've chosen to use what happened to me now has even brought me more at peace within myself about what happened. So it doesn't hurt as much to have those thoughts and memories come out, because I know that even me now sharing it here, it could be helping somebody. And if it's not helping someone here, I'm sure you all will share to help someone that you know who you think would. And that honestly fuels me. It really does. And it's just like, I'm a soldier, and this can be a very weary fight because it goes on so much more in our world than you would think. But it keeps me going, just knowing that that I could be helping someone. So and I meditate. I meditate. I do think that when it comes to emotions and it comes to the human body, that we can get some control over things that are perceivably not within our control. So I am able, when I get choked up and tears start, well, I take a moment, I bring it together, and the mission is more important. Now after this, I might have to take a nap, drink some tea, meditate a little more, like woo way, woo ha.
You do. I think everybody is going to be going into some meditation, girl. I'm telling you. But Elle, you can go and listen to. She has a podcast called Mummy Dearest, and
Actually,
is it under?
that's the
Yeah.
name of the episode. The podcast is called Self-Published.
Self-published, yes.
Yeah.
Self-published podcast, and the episode is Mummy Dearest. And you mentioned in that how easy it is for you to write about your pain and suffering because your heart is no longer in that place. And I love that. I think that was so profound when I listened to that. So that Elle will be a go-to, as well as the book as well. And for anybody else that would question how you come across so untainted, but it's right there. But yeah, I mean, you're just amazing, for freak's sake. I mean, I'm not even gonna question, did it happen, did it not happen, because I know it did. It's just that for someone who just sits there giving it to us raw, unedited, the way it is, and you're holding it and keeping it together, kudos to you, my darling. Believe me, because I'm choking here. You can't see it, but I'm really, my heart is like, there's moments where I can feel the hairs stand up on my skin. So, for everybody on this platform right now, it's a journey. It still is. She's just explained that how it will probably affect her after the podcast. And I can only say for you, for all the time, I just pray strength for you, comfort and wisdom to encamp upon you on every interview you have thereafter, for every appearance, for every encounter that you have with local authorities to get this word out there, this message heard, to save lives, to build your foundation, to get the work done. I'm sending prayer to you and your team from here onwards. And I
see
wanted...
Go ahead. Now, I see one question that I'd like to answer really quick.
Go for it.
It's from Diva Girl, and actually I know them. Hi, I don't know who's handling the account now, but Diva Girl is an organization that has helped Precious Little Ladies. They partner a lot with our events, and you know, it's a group of beautiful young people. They come out and they really support everything that we do. But oh wait, can I scan and scroll it? Okay, there you go. She asked, or they asked, how many siblings did my father have? For that question, he had 2 siblings. No, actually, my grandmother had 3 children, and then he had another sibling. My grandfather had another sibling, so I believe that's 3 siblings that he have. My relationship with them is non-existent. My aunt reaches out sometimes, but you know, she has done some things as well in facilitating. At one point, when I thought that I had escaped him before we actually reported him, I was in communication with my aunt, and she actually gave him my phone number, and he called me one day out of the blue. So I have chosen to keep a distance with, you know, his family members. Some of them. I'm reconnecting with a few because, you know, in this situation and in incestuous, when you have children born of incest, their family outreach is less. There's less family that they're connected to. So because I don't speak to, or because my father's direct relatives have not been supportive of me speaking out, have not, you know, given any kind of help or encouragement or anything, and in some ways have caused harm, that's just less people for my children to be connected to. So I have tried to reach out to those in Alabama and Atlanta to kind of give them, you know, more of a sense of family. So yeah.
I hope that answers your question, Miss Diva, or the Diva Girl Foundation. I want to move on because you got married.
Yes.
To Mr. Jones, is that correct? Is that your married name?
Yes.
Ex name. How did you meet your husband?
Oh Lord, sometimes it's a little embarrassing to say, but I met him on MySpace.
A chill just came right through me from the Michelle Kramer interview that I did, and that MySpace,
really?
They need to take it down. Yeah.
Well, I met him on MySpace, and this is a kind of a debate. It's funny because, you know, you meet people online, and there's hesitancy with meeting them in person, and I understand that a lot of people can be catfished, and you know, the internet, like many other things, had been weaponized. But I met him on MySpace. He started sharing poetry. We were talking then, and when I was comfortable enough, you know, we exchanged phone numbers. And then we met in person, and he was local. In fact, it turned out that we had actually met prior to that, prior to the MySpace meeting. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was an interesting experience. So that's
how long was you married for?
How old is Uriel? I was married for about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I was married for about 3 years.
Well, before I read the book, I was watching one of your videos where Uriel speaks, and he says that his dad left his mum for her sister.
Yeah, that little statement right there was pretty controversial, because when I filmed him, I did not know that he knew all of that.
Wow. Wow.
And I contemplated leaving it in here, but I was like, you know what? This is real. Children know a lot more about what's going on than you think they do, you know? So, yeah, he didn't leave me for my sisters, but he did cheat on me with two of my sisters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That clears everything. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody has asked, thank you for that, Aziza. Someone has asked, and well, Diva Girl has asked again, what about other children besides the ones with your mum? How are your children knowing that they are both your children and siblings?
What about other children besides the ones with your mom? How are your children knowing? Oh, those are two separate questions. Okay. What about other children besides the ones with your mom? Oh, yeah, my father in total, from what we've counted, has had, including my own children, has had 21 children. So there are 21. I believe it's 21, yes. From what we've counted, from what we know of. So some are popping up. Just as of recently as 3 years ago, you know, I've met more siblings. And it's very interesting. And even then there's the dynamic of, well, their relationship, their connection to my children are through our father, right? So technically they're siblings too, but at the same time, they're also aunts and uncles because their sister is my kid's mom. So it's like, yeah, it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle that often becomes a topic of discussion and arguments and debates, you know.
So that so you're all kind of like similar ages, siblings, I mean, you're biological. Well, you're all biological.
Yeah, we're all biological.
Yeah. Right. Before I bite my tongue, let me. Right. So I hope. Right. So whoever asked that question, I hope you kind of get it by her answer. Do you have a relationship with your siblings? The
with
9
some,
of you that you grew
with some I do. My brother, he passed away a few years ago in 2016, I believe. And it was actually a result of him trying to come to terms with a lot of the things that he witnessed happening to me. And he committed accidental suicide. So that really caused a rift in our family. And like I said before, some disagree with the fact that I wrote the book, even though at first they were on board, they were fine. But, you know, there's a huge difference between theory and reality. And I think that they imagined that things would go a certain way with publishing my book and me speaking out. But then when suddenly I was on the Katie Couric show and things were just more public than they had planned, then that kind of started to create some uneasiness.
A backlash.
Yeah, within the family. So that was somewhat divisive. And then, you know, my brother passing away. And I have some sisters that blame me. They say that if I would have stood up sooner, then they would not have been molested themselves. So, you know, I love all my sisters to a certain degree. I sometimes I see them as my children, and it is what it is. So
someone has just asked, they missed the first part. So the father, Aswad Ayinde, has been sentenced to 90 years. So he got a first portion when your sister's case, and then with yours it bumped it up. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get to that yet. I hope that's answered your question. Somebody has asked, Coco Queen, I'll get that question. I'll get that out there in a minute. But before I go there, I want to get to this part here where, okay, we will ask that question. Has your father suffered abuse himself? Did you get to understand any of that?
I don't know. He told us stories of physical abuse at the hands of my grandmother, and of course, as a child raised in the South, you know, there is definitely that very harsh type of spanking, I guess, like the get the switch kind of
Yeah.
mentality. That a lot of people did not consider abuse, but now you know that it is. So there was that. As far as sexual abuse, he never told me anything about sexual abuse. He had witnessed some things outside of what he witnessed that I think often children might walk in on their parents. Nothing out of the ordinary. He's never expressed that.
Okay, so your father's now been sentenced. Well, how has when did you decide that you wanted to go and visit him?
When did I decide? I think it always, no, I would say maybe about 2 years after his sentencing. I think during my process of dealing with publishing the book and being in school, and I'm a psychology minor, right? So the idea, and I wrote a lot about narcissistic abuse and mentality, really using him and identifying. It wasn't even intentional, just studying the different forms of psychology and the different forms of what's the term, psychological issues and problems. I saw so much of my father in what I was reading in these examples. So that's what made me think, you know what, he would probably be a really good subject for my dissertation.
Oh, so definitely.
Yeah, so that's part of it. Plus I think I kind of want to see if he has changed any. What has his experience in jail been like? But I think that's just my curiosity as a human. It doesn't really have any kind of emotional connection to it. So yeah, that would be it. But that happened maybe about 2 years after he was sentenced, and I thought, I wonder how long will it take for him to realize the impact of what he did and how many people it hurt and how many people's lives that he changed. And honestly, in knowing that, how does he respond to that? Because some very sick people will take pleasure in knowing that they have affected somebody's life in a negative way, so yeah, so that's what I would want to know, just to see, because my last interaction with him was at the sentencing. And he was really still trying to plead his innocence. So
wow. Yeah.
But Diana, we have to create an endpoint because I don't have much time left.
Yes, I want to say that before we come off of here. Okay. So you've given us a great amount of content, Aziza, and I'm really humbled and grateful. But I want to put in this scripture that I came up with. Well, it was laid in my heart, and it's Luke 12:48, and it says, "But the one who does not know and does things deserving punishment will be beaten with few blows. From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked." And I say all that to say, with all your life and all the punishments and everything that you have gone through, you speak about being blessed with the right dream. You had a dream at the age of 6 that never left you. Never left you during your ordeal. And in the dream, you met a handsome black man with a short, perfect afro sitting on a chair. And, you asked the man who he was, and he replied, "I am your father, Aziza." Telling him you already have a daddy, he replied he would take care of you no matter what. And there was a pretty lady in the dream. Who was she? Which we now know was you, right? So having that dream at the age of 6, you knew, and you always said you held on to it. You had prayer constantly. You had an argument with your Sunday school teacher, I believe, about who God was. So all of that tells me that you knew, as painful as your ordeal was and is sometimes, I guess, God was always there for you in the midst of your storm, in the midst of your struggle, and through it all. That encounter at 6 told you you just never lost sight of it. And I just want you, again, please go and purchase the book, Unashamed, A Tainted Life. My camera paused there. And the only platform, Aziza, you had left to send a message to the world for women about this situation, what would that message be?
Wait, for women about the situation?
Yeah, if you had one message to give the world right now, and this platform was the only platform you had to deliver that message, what message would you convey to the world, and why?
The message that I would convey is, well, I think it's two. One, God does not bring you to anything that you cannot handle. A lot of times I think even when people listen to my story and they say, I could never do that, I could never be in that, I could never come through, you don't know what you can come through until you actually come through it. So that's one. Like, do not doubt yourself and your ability as a human, as a spiritual being, having a human experience. I think that when we talk about drugs and alcohol abuse, and even all of the things that being sexually abused or sexually assaulted, the PTSDs, the things that a lot of people utilize to cope with the pain, I think that that is because they do not trust themselves. They do not trust themselves in being able to push through the pain without this outside element to help them. So my message really is that none of that is necessary. You are enough. You are strong enough. You may not feel like it. You may not realize it, but you are, and you should have faith in yourself. As far as my relationship with my creator, a message that I do share with everybody, and I am sensitive to the fact that not everybody has the same belief. I speak to atheists all the time, and I respect their position, right, as far as who they are and how they came to be here. But as far as my relationship with my creator and whatever higher power you believe in, you're here for a reason. You're here for a reason, and no matter what anybody tells you or does to you, they was not instrumental. They're not the deciding factor in you being here. Because while my father was instrumental in me being here, he contributed his sperm and chromosomes and everything else. The decision was for me to be here was a greater power. And I praise and acknowledge that greater power. And I am with that greater power in moving forward and making a mark on the world, because I just love myself enough to know that, yeah, I have a purpose. Whether I was molested or abused or not, I have a purpose because I am purposefully here. And I think that that's the case for anybody in the world. You know, they are purposefully here. You are here for a reason. So.
And with that said, I just want to say this from your book. So whether we believe your choice to be correct or not is one of the choices that affect your life, which in reality have little to do with you. Everything that has happened to you is consequential to the person you are today. So keeping that in mind, you have little shame or regret for anything. And I think that's a message for everybody. I also want to say to you, Aziza, you are a brave, courageous, and fierce woman in your belief system. And with that said, nothing can take you down if it hasn't already done so.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
in the words of your grandmother, such is life.
Such is life.
Thank you so much. But before you go, before we end this, I want to know your little
Oh,
bindi.
my bindi, yes, to open up my third eye chakras. Well, to help open my third eye chakra, yes, yes. And this is my own line, Awakenings by Aziza.
So I'm going to get all those links and I'm going to add them to this recording once I've finished. But from the Soul to Soul project, I cannot say more than what I've already said, and I'm hoping that you get how appreciative I am of having you be a guest on the Soul to Soul project, especially on this day. So here's to everything that you were born to do, which will come to fruition. Yes, because it's already been written. And Aziza Kibibi, I just want you guys to send some love on this platform for this beautiful, phenomenal woman as we prepare her for her journey to continue on her quest. That is her God-given birthright to be here today. Aziza Kibibi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless your journey.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Be blessed. You're blessed.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.